You will no doubt be impressed by our keynote speaker who's about to speak. Although he did grow up in Las Vegas, he has called Northern Colorado home for the last few years. During his short time here, he has worked with at-risk youth at the Matthews House and with Easter Seals, and is currently working at Habitat for Humanity in Berthoud. His story is no doubt a story of heartbreak and hope, and he's really taken his life and turned it into a passion for making his community a better place. At just 26, he's already run for city council because he recognizes already that funding for these programs and the support for vulnerable youth, and really looking forward to what it means to make a difference in the community often stems from a political influence. So would you please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Patrick Dillon.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Dillon. You might have heard. I am thankful for the chance to share a little bit about myself and my past work with you today, which includes creating community-based job training programs for youth and adults with disabilities at Easter Seals, Colorado, and using my experience in the system to serve as a youth advocate for foster youth at the Matthews House. It is my hope for today, and one of the many reasons why I'm here with you, is to speak up and speak loudly for youth in need of a voice, and lift even higher those who already have found theirs. One of the best ways I know how to speak up for those in need is to reflect on who spoke up for me, and to share the reasons why I was in need of someone willing to fight for me in the first place. Today I want to share with you how you have the power to change the lives of hundreds of children across Larimer County. Oddly enough, it starts in Las Vegas, Nevada, with 5 different high schools, 4 different foster placements, 3 Christmas presents, 2 court cases, and 1 young man that showed me that things can always be worse. Like many foster youth, my troubled childhood started out with a father suffering from addiction who left early on, a single mother struggling to balance raising a child and living with an untreated mental disability, living on the compassion of charities and Social Security. Looking back, I remember as I grew older, I felt a strong urge inside to find any way to get out of that house. To get away from the hours of yelling from my mother's latest relationship with a man clearly in need to show off just how manly he was, reminding me every day after school that I would never amount to anything, that I clearly needed professional help for how stupid I was, and my grades sliding down further and further only provided more evidence to back it up. The point seemed clear. No one would ever want to love or care for someone as dumb as me, with my mother sitting next to him with no words of hope to offer. After years of this tradition, I finally gave in. I agreed. I must be stupid. I must be a horrible person, and I must be a horrible son. The words, however, always seem to hurt a little bit more than the hits. I could deal with the belt marks, the pushing, the objects flying, the spit in the face. It was always the words. And the fact that no one would step up for me, since I hadn't yet learned how to fight for myself. This environment gave me every reason to stay out of the house for as long as possible. I remember I had an alarm set for 1:30 in the morning to get ready for school. I would walk my 2-mile trip to middle school in the dark, normally beating the janitor to school, and they would let me read the paper in the gym under the emergency light. Then summer came. There was no more reasons to get up early and wait for that morning paper. School was out. I had to come up with a new way to get out of the house. So I started a dog walking and cleaning service in my apartment community. At the age of 12, I had 10 house keys and knew what seemed like every dog in the community. It was actually a great way to get my mother and her boyfriend off my back. I could stay out of the house all day, every day. I gave them some money each week, and I could almost be independent. That new independence, however, didn't come with a safety handbook or parents on standby to teach you to look out for the warning signs. As the weeks passed, I met and became friends with people new and old, seniors with bad backs, peers at the playground, and adults who worked for the apartment community. One employee of this apartment community took an interest in me rather quickly. He would give me cash to do small tasks that were needed to be done. He would let me take rides on the golf cart. He gave me presents all the time. And the most impactful thing was he asked how I was doing, what I liked, and why I never seemed to be home. It was like someone finally cared. Someone seemed interested enough to get to know me. It was something I really didn't understand. The gifts, the kind words, the caring would lead to invites alone, multiple times a day, sometimes with this HIV-positive partner. It quickly turned into a weird reality, where I thought the only way people could show they cared about you is if they did whatever they wanted to do. I was being touched in ways that made me uncomfortable, and being asked to perform sexual acts in exchange for safety from home. But at least I was out of the house, where I was the stupid kid that would never be anything because I wasn't worth the time. This part of my life is about to take a turn in ways I could never expect. I remember sitting in the back of his white truck heading out to go shopping, and he puts his cell phone on speaker. And it was my mother's boyfriend on the voicemail saying, "If you really want Patrick, money talks, bullshit walks." And he replied to the message saying, "It looks like we get to keep you." I remember being silent, trying to process what I just heard. What did that actually mean? It turns out I was sold by my mother and her boyfriend to my sexual abusers for $200. A couple of weeks later, a temporary guardianship paper was signed by my mother and my abusers, making, in their minds, the transaction of a child final. It would take many years and many people to help me process that moment in life. And without those people, I wouldn't be able to speak with you today about it. That, however, was not the end of my experience that I wish to share with you. Like many of these stories, mine continued to be rocky, but it's also provided me a lesson in hope. Child Protective Services received a tip. They found me and took me to an emergency shelter for youth. The dark humor of it all, looking back, is that this place was built in between a gym for youth and a park called Freedom Park. The irony still gets me. This institution is where many firsts in my life would happen in a very short period of time. I'd be questioned by the police for about what happened for hours. I remember still not wanting to share a word of it, not wanting to get in trouble. Oddly enough, I didn't want anyone to get in trouble. I was fearful of what the police would do, not because they were the police, but because they were adults. The police never helped me when I reported my mother and her boyfriend of the physical, mental, emotional, and verbal abuse. Why would they help me now that it's sexual? Then I remember that wall finally breaking down inside me. I couldn't fight it anymore. I told them everything, even the things I didn't want to admit to myself. They sent me to a cottage on this campus with 32 other young men. We shared one kitchen, one bathroom. Personal space was a joke. 4 to 6 kids per room meant fights were commonplace, and for this only child, it was a shock to the system. I shut down. I stopped eating. I stopped speaking. I didn't care anymore, and it seemed like no one else did either. I would turn 13 in this odd version of hell. I would also scream and cry tears of joy when I found out that I wasn't HIV positive with a nurse that I never got her name. I would learn the meaning of a rape kit. I would visit a courtroom for the first time during all of this. And I would find out that my mother and her boyfriend moved to another state while I was in this shelter. Lastly, I would slowly learn that I had to fight for myself in this place. These moments and memories would determine in many ways the rest of my childhood. I would also learn that phone books still have a purpose in this world. And I promise to explain what that means in a little bit. My first experience with a courtroom was not pleasant. All the lawyers were mad at me. The judge seemed concerned. My abuser was 25 feet away from me, and I was totally numb. I couldn't remember anything. I had trouble speaking, thinking, felt like breathing. It looked and felt like someone had placed a fog right over me. It felt like I was about to faint. I don't remember much of that hearing today, except for how it felt. It felt like everyone was watching my loneliness. It would be the first of many occasions to come where the legal system and my ability to handle stress were at odds. Having someone in my corner, on my side, no matter how ugly it got, could really help that day. The number of days at this institution grew larger, and each day a number of other youth would have visits with family and their team, case managers, doctors, lawyers, the list goes on and on. And I happened to be playing outside near one of these meetings and overheard something called a Child Advocacy Project Attorney, guardian ad litem out here. They call them CAP attorneys out in Nevada, and I asked my caseworker what a CAP attorney did, and if I could have one help me in court. They quickly shut down the idea, claiming that at 13, somehow, I was too old to need someone to represent me in court. I didn't get it. Why did the other kids have one and not me? It made me angry. It made me wonder, yet again, why no one seemed to care about me. That's when it truly hit me. If I was going to make it through this, I would need to make things happen on my own. And that meant I needed a voice to help me. I felt like a lost cause at the time, when my family hurt and left me. The system I experienced at the time had the sole focus of three things. Does the kid have a bed? Have they eaten? And they're not bleeding. So I found that big, ugly, yellow phone book and made a phone call to the director of the CAP Attorney Project, asking for someone to represent me. It was the best phone call I made in my entire 5 years in foster care. After 73 days of chaos, I was placed in my first of 5 foster homes. The first home was nice. They had 5 other kids, which was heaven compared to the cottage, with 32 others. The reason I bring up this home is because of one young man. A young man that I think about to this day whenever I just feel like I can't handle things anymore. His name is David. He was 10 years old at the time. And he experienced a childhood that no one ever deserves. It made me realize early on that my childhood could have easily been much worse. His parents put him in a boiling pot of hot water when he was just 3 years old. And he had scars up and down his entire body. I remember him not because of the scars, it was his smile. Every single day after school, he'd come home, see me, run, and give me a hug. He teaches me a very important lesson each and every day, that we can always be happy when we have every reason not to be. We can always make it through, no matter how hard. And we can always be there for each other. That phone call I told you about started to change my life more than I could ever express here today. I'd moved to yet another foster home, but I would also gain one special advocate. I finally had one person in my life that was there to care about me, and they didn't need to be paid by the state to be around me. He wasn't going to hurt me. They were going to fight alongside me. He saw and lifted up my voice. He knew I was worth more than $200. He knew this even when I doubted it in myself. His name was Raymond, middle-aged man that worked at the big baseball field and convention center downtown. He gave me a tour of the stadium as he was head of security, and he had me over for holiday dinners with his amazing wife and mother-in-law, who was a Holocaust survivor. These memories are because I had a CASA that cared. We did the simple but important things as well. We went out to eat, took walks, had long talks about what was going on in my life, his life, the world as a whole. We sang songs horribly in the car. We were able to laugh when life seemed really heavy. That is simply because he cared. And he taught me that I don't have to be numb anymore. I could care again, because when he cared, it didn't hurt. He was the only one that didn't judge me when I would need treatment for depression. He listened and fought for what I wanted and needed. When it seemed like everyone else had a plan, an agenda for what the rest of my life was supposed to be like. My CASA, my court-appointed special advocate, fought for my plan, my agenda, my wish, and most importantly, my future. And he did all this when he didn't have to. All of this can be a lot to process. I lived it, and reflecting back, I still have a hard time making sense of it all. This morning, however, we can do a lot more than just process. We can take action. We can make a real impact. We can keep hope alive and growing for the 245 children in Larimer County that already have that amazing source of inspiration from their CASA. We can also make it a reality for the 390 children that still need us to say that we're going to step up today. We can sign up and make that difference. I was lucky. I had a CASA. These children shouldn't have to be lucky. We can act. We can do more. We can offer them more. We can offer them the ability to be heard no matter what. You being here this morning is the first step towards a better future for our youth. That being said, we need those with the ability to donate to realize it's not money you are providing. It is hope. It's keeping kids in the classroom when they want to give up. It is keeping kids fighting when they want to give up. We need those with the ability to become a CASA today to sign up, because we have a total of 635 children in Larimer County alone in need of these life-altering services that this amazing nonprofit offers our community every day. 635 children that are dealing with things that no one should have to deal with alone. And I want to say one final thing this morning. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you here today. The hundreds of you here today in CASA of Larimer County are giving me hope that a better future for our children isn't only possible, but a reality. Thank you.